So why did you want to become a vet?
I wanted to become a vet because I was just so passionate about animals when I was young. I've always loved animals, and I've always been interested in all aspects of them. And then I was lucky. I was good at science at school. And veterinary medicine just provided everything. I learned so much more about all of the animals, and I was fascinated about how to fix them. It seemed just the perfect career choice. So off I went to university and discovered there was so much more to learn about animals than I'd ever even imagined, and learned everything in such great depth that it was a fascinating 5 years. Starting off learning all about the normal animal, be it from its biochemistry down to cells, all the way up to its anatomy and physiology, and then finally through to the pathology and how one treats that pathology. It's just absolutely fantastic.
And were you always going to end up in horses?
Yes, I was. I've always loved horses. They're such incredible animals. Their athletic abilities are just quite remarkable. And I'm an outdoor person. I need to work outdoors, really, and horses have allowed me just the perfect career. I can deal with animals that I love, and I'm outdoors all day, every day.
And where have you worked other than Prize Farm?
So I spent the first year of my career in Scotland doing mixed practice, seeing everything. Cattle, horses, dogs, cats, even a snake on an occasion. And I don't really like snakes. And after that year, I'd gained enough experience to specialise in horses. I was told by my mentor that one should always start in mixed practice. It enables you to gain different skills with different animals, which you can then use that experience to great effect in your later specialisms, which is what I did. So your surgical skills get much better honed if you do small animal work. And if you do cattle practice, you get to realise there's a pragmatic solution sometimes to any kind of situation. And I moved from Scotland down to Essex. I spent 3 years in Essex, which was a fantastic experience. It was incredibly busy practice. Covered a huge area. We covered Essex and Suffolk, a bit of Norfolk. And I've gained all sorts of experience there and had all sorts of interesting scenarios and worked with a great team who were really dedicated to making sure you learnt to the best of your ability. And then I moved from Essex down to Sussex, and I've been here ever since.
So you worked at Prize Farm for 4 years, and then you ended up being a director at Prize Farm. What's the main difference between being an employee and an employer?
Owning your own practice allows you to put every part of your being and your passion into your own practice. It allows you to forge that practice very much in the manner that you want it to be. It allows you to progress it along a path to what you perceive as hopefully excellence. And I'm really proud that we've, I think, managed to achieve that. And why did you become a vet?
Well, from a very young age, I've always been fascinated by natural history, and as such had decided to form a career working with animals in some way. Working as David Attenborough was probably top of my list, but sadly someone had taken that job. And as such, I started looking towards professions that blended my interest in sciences with actually getting to provide a professional service at the same time. And medicine, dentistry and veterinary clearly presented themselves to start with, but it was the work experience that I gained as a teenager which really made me think, yep, this is what I want to do. This blend of working with people, but not directly for their own health, and being able to incorporate my passion for animals into the same profession seemed an ideal opportunity. I have to admit, I never actually thought I would get the grades at A-level required to be a vet, and didn't, in fact. And as such, it was always, well, I'll try and be a vet, and if it works out, that's great. But if it doesn't, I've always got zoology at Nottingham up my sleeve. And just a series of subsequent strokes of luck really allowed me to get to Glasgow, where I just thoroughly enjoyed the course and came out the other end without as much trouble as I was expecting. And it was lift off from there.
Did you not get the grade?
No, I totally screwed up my chemistry exam.
Did you?
So as in literally, in the second paper, did not turn it over. And in the last 5 minutes of the exam, turned it over and went, oh my God.
Oh, the ultimate nightmare.
There is a whole page of questions that you haven't answered. So I think I got a B in chemistry and a B in physics and an A in biology and an A in general studies. And that wasn't what I needed to get. But I think my interview had gone well at Glasgow, and I had spent almost entirely the time between 15 and 18 every holidays doing nothing but work experience, working in a zoo, working in a kennels, working in a dairy farm, working in a pig farm, catching turtles in northern Cyprus, everything that you can possibly imagine. And it gave me quite a lot to talk about in the interview, and a demonstration that I was pretty interested in animals. And that was, I think that's what got me through.
Do you still wake up in the cold sweat about that?
Yes. Yeah. And I still talk to clients. I mean, this year especially, I've come across many clients whose children have gone through the whole nightmare of A-levels and their inability to sit the exam and the whole lottery system. And it's really brought it back to me, A, how lucky I've been, but also how, there's hope for everyone, however bad they think it's gone.
Why did you choose to be a horse vet?
Well, I used to ride as a child, and I've always been interested in horses specifically. But the thing that really nailed it for me was spending time working with Richard Jones, who initially set up Bell Equine. And it's such an eye-opener to how wonderful a working life could be, shadowing him. And he was very good in the time that he allowed me to spend with him and how much he allowed me to do and to experience. And after comparing that with all the other areas that I'd looked at, I was left in no doubt at all that I was always going to be a horse vet. There was just nothing else for me. The blend of working outside with balancing a companion animal with something that quite often had a very professional use as well. It just made for the most interesting mix for me anyway.
Have you always worked in Sussex?
No, I've worked all over the shop really. My first job was working in North Yorkshire in Thirsk at the original Heriot practice. Jim White was my boss, Alf White's son, aka James Heriot. And that was the best possible start to a profession or a professional career that I could have wished for. I mean, it was a mixed practice in the old-fashioned sense of the word. We saw literally everything. I remember, lambing season was busy in North Yorkshire. We charged £20 for a sheep caesarean. I would quite frequently be doing 5 or 6 caesareans a night, and then have small animal work to do in the mornings, and then cattle visits in the afternoon. I was actually the person at the practice that spent more time looking at horses than possibly anyone else, but it was certainly a minority of the time I spent as a vet. But it allowed you to experience so many different aspects of the profession, and certainly learn surgical skills that you could never hope to achieve in if you specialize in horses right from day one. And it was yes, it was a joy. Hard work, but a really great place to start a working life. I then went to specialise at Glasgow University. I got a clinical scholarship there and spent the next 2 years doing the odd lecture here and there, teaching students, but also being exposed to an equine referral caseload, which taught me huge amounts and allowed me to do my ongoing qualifications in equine medicine. And after that, I then went to the same practice that you worked at in Essex, working in a very busy ambulatory equine practice with a hospital base, very similar to the one we've got now. Yes, it was the perfect addition to having spent 2 years in a relative ivory tower, then to hit the road and be exposed to every possible combination and permutation that horses can get themselves into.
We've certainly known each other a very long time, way before we even met. Even way before we set up here at Prior's Farm.
2001, I think. Is that right? Yeah.